What is the world, what are you to make of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's rejected a US-led ceasefire proposal and sworn to continue fighting Hezbollah with full force? Meanwhile, our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has stepped up his calls for an immediate ceasefire in Lebanon. This follows an escalation in fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. Keir used his speech at the UN General Assembly in New York overnight to urge again for a pause in fighting, to provide space for a diplomatic settlement, arguing that further escalation in the region, as he says, serves no one.
Further escalation serves no one. It offers nothing but more suffering for innocent people on all sides.
Noting that your role with the IDF was one that was to put its case across to the world, does it not bother you in any way that currently, and I acknowledge what you've just said, Netanyahu is very much seen as the aggressor? That just simply doesn't bother you or bother Israel?
No, of course it bothers. I think it's very regrettable. And I think that it's...
Then why not more of an energy behind the idea of a cessation, a pause?
Well, here, in this case, I think that's also unfortunate domestic politics. And I think that what Netanyahu has said is different from what's actually happening, mostly to placate domestic politics. But bottom line, if we zoom out for a second and look at what's happening, Israel started to apply pressure on Hezbollah in order to get the diplomatic wheel spinning. And that's what's happening now. So this is the process. It's unfortunate that, again, a lot of the pressure on the wording is focused on Israel when it was Hezbollah that started.
Indeed. But lastly on that, sir, just lastly on that, sir, you will tell me that, and it is, Israel is a democracy, is a responsible democracy, and you are fighting a terrorist organization. Many would say, Lieutenant Colonel, it falls to the state that has democracy to take the lead. And then, if Hezbollah immediately launched rockets day one of a proposed ceasefire, the world might view it in a different light. Lieutenant Colonel.
Yeah, they launched rockets towards Haifa just 20 minutes ago, a big center of population in northern Israel. Looks like 2 explosions, no reports of casualties as of yet, but that could be an answer of them. It's the responsibility of a democracy to defend itself, to defend its people, and to make sure that they can live safely in their homes. That's the ultimate and most important responsibility, one that, frankly, Israel hasn't been performing very well on since October the 7th.
And I must leave it there. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you for taking the call so early in the morning for you. Jonathan Conricus is Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defence Democracy in Washington, D.C. and served as a spokesperson for the IDF. 12 after 7. Hopefully we can get a line into Beirut and speak with Dr Ghassan Abu-Sittah, who's a plastic and reconstruction surgeon working at the American University of Beirut Medical Center, joining me now. Thank you for coming on the line. Well, you really are on the front line, Doctor. How urgent would you say the need for a ceasefire is? Good morning to you.
Good morning. It's extremely urgent. We have over 2,000 wounded, and we have a health system that's just in the 4th year of a crippling economic crisis that has seen 90% of the currency disappear. And it means that the health system is unable to look after the wounded. And we can see it already. The hospitals are completely inundated. And the system is barely coping either with the wounded or with the internally displaced that are now filling up the schools in Beirut.
Doctor, can you give my listeners a sense of what you and your colleagues are having to deal with on a daily basis?
It is a litany of blast injuries to the face, to limbs, crushed injuries from falling buildings, collapsing buildings. It's, Lebanon is the inability to move patients from the south and from the north to Beirut because the roads are either full of internally displaced trying to get away, or that the roads are unsafe because of the bombing, especially in the south. And so just it took us 2 days to be able to evacuate a child with severe facial injuries from the south because of these kind of difficult and hazardous conditions to move. And the Israelis have been targeting ambulances, including Red Cross ambulances on the road. And so getting ambulances into these towns in the south has been extremely hazardous.
Lastly, you and your fellow surgeons, doctors, anaesthetists, nurses and all the staff, you work away day in, day out for these folk. What would your message be to the politicians who are doing all the talking while you're doing the working?
There needs to be a ceasefire. This time last year, we're almost coming up to the 1-year anniversary of the war on Gaza. This region is being torn apart by this war, and this war needs to end. Whether it's in Gaza or in Lebanon, this war needs to end.
I'm grateful for your time and indeed for the work you're doing with your colleagues. Thank you. Dr Ghassan Abu-Sittah is a plastic and reconstruction surgeon talking to us from the American University of Beirut Medical Center. The suggestion there that the IDF have deliberately targeted ambulances, I don't know that actually can be verified, but we must allow it to go because we are talking to a man who's in Beirut. And of course, in the fog of war, much can be said. Your take on the events since we last spoke. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Nick. How you doing?
I'm all right. So how are you and your family?
Yeah, we're good. We're safe, and like I say, we haven't moved. We're still in the same area. But it's interesting to note that the areas, the bombardments of from the IDF are getting a little bit more intense in areas outside of Beirut, north of Beirut. Now, we were sort of literally half an hour after speaking with you. There's a road, and all those that know Lebanon will know it. It's the road up to St. Charbel. It's a major area for religious praying on all sides, but mainly the Christians. Obviously, you've got a small village there called Ras Usta, which you have to go past to get up to this monastery, effectively of St. Charbel, and that was bombed. So, this targeting, it's all very well saying, we're doing isolated targeting. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as that.
Well, just to remind listeners, of course, you're ex-British military anyway, so you know a thing or two about that. Were there casualties or fatalities at the monastery, Chris?
No, it wasn't at the monastery. It was on the road up to the monastery.
I'm so sorry.
You have to go past this. That's okay. That's okay. So yeah, I mean, and even people are saying, Nick, why are you still there? And Chris, why are you still there? And Tim, why are you still there? There's an expat community around here. And, even getting to the airport, it's not as easy as getting to the airport and getting out of the airport, to the airport. There is no real safe passage that you can rely on.
When we spoke earlier this week, there was a whisper of hope of some kind of ceasefire. I don't think we had a peace, but a ceasefire. And this, as far as I can interpret it, has been completely dashed by Benjamin Netanyahu. Your view of that, or indeed of him, Chris?
Listen, I mean, I think Israel is, and my opinions and those of mainly the Lebanese people, Israel is becoming the spoiled child. It wants to be the superpower in the Middle East. It's going the wrong way about it. And the many people that I've spoken to, and some of these now are becoming pro-Hezbollah. The Lebanese people didn't really want for this. They didn't ask for this, unfortunately, because of their political instability. But what you've got to remember is Hezbollah. They're ready for this. They're ready for a ground invasion. They will do the martyrdom and everything like this. I don't think the Israeli army, if they're preparing for any sort of ground assault, I don't think they fully expect, what could be happening. And, we hear also of Hezbollah, wanting to die, willing to die for this cause. I don't think the Israeli army will be, estimating that, so it's a worry.
It is. Look after yourself and your family this weekend, if it's all right. I'd like to suggest we speak at some time next week, but I will be thinking of you and, your wife and family. Look after yourself, Sport. Thanks for coming on the show again, 7:25. Now, Jake is in Tel Aviv. Jake, your view of I assume you live in Israel, your Prime Minister. Good morning.
Yeah, hi, I do. I'm from England originally, but I live in Tel Aviv.
Thanks for calling, sir.
That's okay. I don't care who the government is. I don't like Netanyahu. A lot of people don't. But if Keir Starmer was in his position, or David Lammy, what would they do?
Well, when it came to the IRA, which is a very different set of circumstances,
it's totally different.
But they had to sit. I remember speaking to former politician Mo Molam, no longer with us, who said she had to sit down and talk to the IRA, who she knew, in some instances, had authorised the killing of British soldiers. So that's what the British government did.
There's sort of Christians and Catholics and Protestants all getting along together at the end. This is Islamic fundamentalism who want to annihilate the Jews. But you can't negotiate or have a cup of tea with them because they've been doing this for 11 months. And now Israel shoots back and everyone gets upset. It's Absolute hypocrisy.
Let's just look at the numbers. 9,000 missiles have been launched on the country in which you are at the moment. Your country, since the hideous events of October. 9,000 missiles, as you rightly say, and that has continued. There's only been fewer deaths because of the, if I can use the word, brilliance of the Israeli defense systems. But, Jake, yours is a democracy, a Western-style democracy. They are terrorists. If you don't take the lead, who will?
Exactly. We must destroy them. What? And why isn't Chris, who's ex-army, contacting the British government saying, come and help me fight Hezbollah? Lebanon has an army. Why is the army not attacking Hezbollah and telling them to stop?
But why do you want... I asked
you a question. Please ask your guest.
Well, I can't ask. I can't. Well, Chris has gone.
Why is Lebanon not...
I don't know why he feels... Hezbollah? Why do you feel... All right, so he was British military. Perhaps he doesn't want necessarily to kill more people. In some instances, unfortunately,
I'm talking about him going against Hezbollah.
Innocent people, Jake. Innocent people are being killed, Jake.
Because of Hezbollah. Hezbollah stops.
No, it's Israel that launches the missiles, isn't it?
It's Hezbollah that started this 11 months ago.
Look, you happen to be talking to one of the commentators who actually has probably some of the most sympathy for the position of Israel. But you have to accept...
I live here.
I know, sir, but it's the Israeli-fired missiles that are killing people, Jake.
So tell Hezbollah to stop. They're hiding their weapons again, like good Islamic fundamentalist terrorists, in people's houses, and we have to stop them.
Why will you not see that yours is the democracy? You are the grown-ups in the room.
I totally support my democracy to defend me. Totally to defend them. Last night, I'm running from rocket attacks with my daughter, who's 3 months old. What would you do? You've got to shoot back.